today was today was Thursday. Sorry, on the economic calendar we had 8:30 news, and then we had 9:45 news. I don't really think the news really did much, but let's go into what we had today. And this is kind of just how I drew it up after the fact. We had a Judas swing. We had a nice Judas swing in the morning. London was just consolidation, and then we head higher, and then classic Judas swing. The thing I think is the hardest about this is because the fact that we were in all-time highs on ES and on NQ, ES and on NQ, we were in all-time highs, and we were kind of keying off of this. I was expecting us to get a more meaningful purge into buy side, and this is exactly what ended up happening. We end up forming a Judas swing profile, and we end up getting displacement. Then pull back, imbalance here. This would have been a nice short here. Don't mind all these gaps I have here, and then we have all these stack lows here. So I think that this short to here would have been a nice short. Looking back, I mean it's pretty hindsight. That's off the 15-minute time frame though. If you look up for what could be a better time, I never looked if there was an SMT at these highs. Maybe I should look. There should be one with Dow. Maybe. No. So there's no SMT at these highs. But basically, I think that the reason why we're so bearish is because of YM. If we were looking at this, I think if you were to have traded this, or at least seen it off of YM, it would have been a lot clearer. But you have that same profile. You have that Judas swing profile. You have that late London protraction. We end up coming up, taking Asia high into this 15-minute PD rate. That makes it a lot clearer. And then we end up selling off throughout the rest of the day. If you look at YM, we're approaching this weekly imbalance here, and my expectation for tomorrow is maybe some form of relief back up in here, form a wick on this weekly candle. That's kind of what I'm expecting. If we look, we do have divergence with how the weekly PD arrays are presenting. Look at the weekly candle on ES or on NQ, and then look at the weekly candle on YM. YM's clearly bearish here, and I think that we want to form this fair value gap here. And I think that might be. I'm curious to see what tomorrow does. I'm gonna have a lot more insight based off what the overnight session does. I really like looking at where the overnight session does to really form my bias. But we now have this sort of PD array here that we're keying off of, and I want to see if we end up closing. If we end up closing below this, below constant encroachment of this gap, that would be pretty bearish. So what I'm ideally thinking is going to happen is we're going to close above constant encroachment of this gap, and then I think we might continue bullish into all-time highs. That's what I think is going to happen, but that's just a prediction. But that's what I'm anticipating. If something else happens, then I'll be able to adjust from that. But that's just what kind of I'm expecting. And I'm not gonna lie, my bias has been pretty spot on for the past days. Let me take off this indicator, but I was anticipating that 1, 2, 3 drives, and it's not like the cleanest, but we have high resistance liquidity at the highs, and then that's what ends up happening. We have this Thursday reversal because Thursday threw us in a Judas. If you map out the Judas swing, negative 2.5 lines up very nicely with the sell side liquidity pool we have mapped out here. What is this liquidity pool? It's the previous PM session lows. Then we end up going to a sell program, displacement lower, confirming the sell program. Overall, I think it was a little bit trickier to trade, especially on these lower time frames. But right here, this could have been a potential trade. You have a buy side liquidity sweep. You have SMT displacement lower. This also is during that 10 a.m. hour. You have inverse fair value gap. You also have fair value gap. You also have a breaker block right here. Everything lining up. And most importantly here, you have low resistance liquidity signature. And what is important to note is what's important to note here is this volume imbalance. We come back up, and where do we reprice right to? That volume imbalance. Once we put a body within that, then we're good to head lower. We just need to put a body and lay a body within that volume imbalance. And then I also want to pull up another thing. It's if I was looking at regular trading hours, I never really use regular trading hours that much, but I think I might start backtesting a little bit more because a day like today is when it made perfect sense. So you see how we get an initial push lower, and then we kind of get this move back up. Oh, we're going to buy side. Oh, we're going back up. the fact that we have generated all this liquidity here, and the fact that we want to reprice back down to this opening range gap and fill it and then go higher, just makes sense to me, Like that's just like some hindsight thing that you could have had on today, and then we get displacement higher. Imbalance never gets traded into. Then we're really just filling that volume imbalance. We're still within that sell program. Um, we still have had that Judah swing profile on YM. We're still bearish. So this isn't to say that we're now all of a sudden bullish. And I think it was just a little bit harder to gauge, at least for me personally, because we were in all-time highs. Because this was all-time highs, it's not like we were on YM to where, yeah, we had this Judah swing happen at a specific PD array. You see that, how it happens at that fair value gap? Whereas on NQ, like it's just a Judah swing in time, Then we end up getting displacement lower, pull back to this 15-minute fair value gap, institutional order flow entry drill, and then boom, we attacked sell side. Very bearish delivery here. There wasn't really much opportunity to really get in. You kind of get a fill in that 15-minute fair value gap. Displacement lower, an entry here could have been an entry, attacking, and then we just immediately sell off to sell side. I don't really like taking entries like this, but these could be possible entries off the 1 minute, off of the gaps. But I personally, I know that like if I don't get in here, I don't really need a chase price here, but I could see why people end up taking that, something like that. And if we look at like the PM session silver bullet, there wasn't really much to it, We've already taken that draw on liquidity, so we're not really expecting much in that PM session. We're not really expecting much. Like there's not really much we're really working with. We kind of trade back up in this imbalance that ends up being your quote unquote silver bullet for the PM session, and that's kind of just what happens. Like there really wasn't much to happen in the PM session. Volume imbalance was what I really noted today, and then that regular trading hours, and then displacement lower. And I kind of want to go into bias for the next day. I'll keep it kind of short and to the point. If you look at YM, I am anticipating probably some form of retracement back up, but I don't like trading Fridays. I'm not very. I've had a history of like not trading on or not liking to trade on Fridays. So I'll probably stay chill with my stance, and it all depends on what the overnight session really does. That'll give me a lot more insight. If you look at the hourly on NQ on NQ, we are still respecting this daily order block. We have this daily order block level that I've been kind of monitoring throughout the whole week. That's been respected. This daily order block has been respected. So I want to see overnight session. Are we respecting this? Are we disrespecting this? We have this contour encroachment of that daily wick that I would really be looking for as a possible draw on liquidity, as us to possibly head towards. And we also have this gap here. So really, if we displace lower, my draw on liquidity will be this low. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm expecting more bullish delivery tomorrow. It's hard for me to really say. But we do have sell side resting below us here. YM is bearish. It all depends on what the overnight session does. I feel like I'm not set in stone, but if I had to choose, I'm really not. We have repriced back down to this imbalance here too. I'm just seeing this. If my I'm trying to pull this out in time. Or have we taken that low? I guess we have taken sell side here as well. So we have taken all of these lows here. So I'm going to be a little bit cautious, a little bit easy on my feet. I'm still going to keep these. I have these. This is the new week opening gap, and then this is that new day opening gap. This could be an area in which we draw back into, and I'm going to be looking at this area here. We have new week opening gap, and then this is new day, or this is new week opening gap down here, and that's new day opening gap. So I'm going to be conscious of that sort of level on my chart going into the upcoming days, or at least tomorrow. So yeah, that's kind of what I see in price. We also are come back down, and we have now hit this 1 hour for value gap. So I think that was the draw on ES. I really don't think that we have fully shifted bearish here. I'm leaning more towards bullish sentiment. Honestly, if we look at YM headed lower, and I don't think that YM really needs to draw much lower. We have repriced these imbalances. There's not really like a prominent low in the market that we really need to draw to. I really don't think. I think this is just maybe that initial move to kind of like scare people. I don't like how we never generated that much liquidity on this way lower. I mean, this was kind of a sharp move lower. So we're not really like slowly tapering off, slowly generating. This is more faster moves, which I don't love. But we kind of are generating these highs. We also do have those equal highs that I had mapped out. And then we also have this high up here. So overall, I'm leaning a little bit more bullish. It all depends. But just by looking at YM, we did hold this imbalance over here to the left of us very nicely. Very nicely. Very nicely. And we have an SNC at these highs. YM hasn't pushed up in all-time highs. So this could possibly be a turning point, a reversal point in the market. I think tomorrow is definitely for intraday action, an area in which we could look for longs. Because like I don't think that we're really just gonna go like in like tank. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think we're gonna get another move lower. I think that we're gonna have a move higher, possibly a rebalance to maybe this, offer fair value within here, and then head lower if we are gonna head lower. It's like even here, we aren't just heading straight up. We're heading up, then we're offering fair value, and then we're offering more fair value. We're creating SMT, we're creating divergence to then push higher. Like here, we're heading lower, then we're heading back higher to offer fair value to then head lower. So my point of interest for me is likely going to be this order block. I think I want us to head back up into this order block area on my end. On the 4 hour, I want to see us offer fair value within the market and then push lower. So that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking. Yo, what's good, Peter? But yeah, I little shorter analysis video for me today, and yeah, we'll be back at it tomorrow. I feel like my analysis has been kind of good this week, but we'll see. Anyways, I appreciate